books, paintings, and buildings. Indian art, literature, and architecture of ancient period were mainly centered on three religions, namely Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. However, secular subjects like science, grammar, politics, medicine, music, and dance, etc. were not neglected. Literature. Sanskrit literature. Some of the greatest works of Sanskrit literature, both religious and secular, were composed during ancient period. Vedic literature. The Vedas are the ancient scriptures of Hindu teachings. There are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and Atharva Veda, each consisting of 4 parts. The primary portion is the hymn section. To this ritualistic teachings, Brahmanas, and theological sections, Aranyakas, were added. Epics. There were 2 famous Indian epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. The Ramayana was written by Valmiki. It is a story of Prince Rama of Ayodhya, who is believed to be an incarnation of Vishnu. The story of Ramayana is well known. It has been written in almost all Indian languages with their own special flavors. The Mahabharata, written by Maharishi Vedvyas, describes the struggle between 2 royal families, the Kauravas and Pandavas. The story has been written in the form of Sanskrit verses and is the longest poem in the world. Krishna, an ally of Pandavas and an incarnation of Vishnu, is the central character of this epic. Bhagavad Gita, which is a part of Mahabharata, is a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna taking place on the battlefield before the struggle between good and evil. Trivia. India presently has 22 officially recognized languages, and a huge variety of literature has been produced in these languages over the years. Puranas. The Puranas are the richest collection of mythology in the world. They deal with the origin of universe and contain a detailed description of the solar system, the earth, its continents, family tree of gods, and royal families. There are 18 Puranas which were originally orally narrated and later written down. Upanishads. Upanishads give us both spiritual vision and philosophical argument. They bring out spiritual meanings of Vedic texts and set forth the prime Vedic doctrine like self-realization, yoga and meditation, karma, and reincarnation more clearly. Buddhist literature. The early Buddhist texts were written in the Pali language. Sanskrit scholars also made rich contributions to Buddhist literature. Ashvaghosha wrote Buddha Charitra based on the life of Buddha. Vashumitra collected Buddhist scriptures and compiled the 3 books called Pitikas. One of the Pitika contains Jataka tales. Jataka stories are about the previous births of Gautam Buddha and also a part of Buddhist sacred literature. The morals of the stories are that acts of generosity, kindness, love, and wisdom are necessary in order to secure a better place in the next birth. Trivia. Varaha Mihira was an Indian astronomer, mathematician, and astrologer who lived in Ujjain. He is considered to be one of the 9 jewels, Navratnas, of the court of legendary ruler Yashodharman Vikramaditya of Malwa. His Pancha Siddhantika, dated ca. 575 CE, gives us information about older Indian texts which are now lost. Varaha Mihira's lesser-known work, the Sankhya Siddhanta, dealt with the advanced arithmetic, trigonometry, as well as concepts in combinatorics and optics. Jain literature. Written in Prakrit, they contain passages highlighting the events that took place in the life of Mahavira. These texts argue that no outside power can change the results of one's karma. Each being must suffer the results of his or her actions, and no god can change this. Jain sacred literature originally consisted of 14 orally taught texts called Purvas. These were later replaced by 12 angas, sections. Over the passage of time, the original matter was probably forgotten and new material was added. Secular literature. Some famous works of the great scholar Kalidasa include Meghdut, Kumarasambhava and Abhijana Shakuntalam. Another great work of the Gupta period is Panchatantra, which is a collection of fables centered on animals. Panini composed Ashtadhyayi, which is a great work on Sanskrit grammar. Sutrakar's Mritchakatikam, written in Sanskrit, deals with common people, unlike other plays which tell the story of kings and princes. Another very important book which is the basis of dance and drama in India is the Natya Shastra of Bharata. The book deals with different aspects of drama, including sections on dance and music. Aryabhat, the famous astronomer of ancient period, wrote Aryabhatiya, which contains astronomical and mathematical theories. He gave an accurate value of pi. He calculated the length of solar year and believed that Earth is a sphere and rotates on its axis. He also showed that eclipses were caused by the shadow of the Earth and Moon. Another astronomer, Varaha Mihira, wrote Pancha Siddhantika. Charaka Samhita provides a detailed anatomy of human body with methods of diagnosis and treatment of different illnesses. Another physician, Sushruta, wrote Sushruta Samhita, which talks about surgery and surgical instruments. Arthashastra, written by Kautilya, is an ancient Indian treatise on economics and politics. It explores the demands of statecraft in the prosperous Mauryan period under Chandragupta Maurya. Literature in South India. The Tamil literature known as Sangam literature was combined from presentations made by Tamil scholars at 3 assemblies held at Madurai under royal patronage. This literature belongs to the period between 3rd century BCE and 3rd century CE. It includes poetry and works on grammar which gives us valuable information about the events of the time. Among Tamil works produced after Sangam age are the epics Shilpa Padikeram and Mani Megalai. Shilpa Padikeram was composed by a poet named Ilango Adigal around 1800 years ago. It is a story of a merchant named Kovalan who lived in Puhar and fell in love with a courtesan named Madhavi, neglecting his wife Kannagi. Later, he and Kannagi migrated to Madurai, where he tried to raise money by selling his wife's jewelry to a goldsmith. He was falsely accused of having stolen the queen's anklet. The Pandya king sentenced Kovalan to death. Kannagi, who still loved him, was full of anger and grief at this injustice and destroyed the city of Madurai. Mani Megalai, a Buddhist epic, was written by Sattanar. It was named after its heroine, the daughter of Kovalan and Madhavi. It describes how she makes social service the primary aim of her life. Another great work is Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural, which is a collection of 2-line poems bearing morals. Architecture. Monuments are a great source of our knowledge about the past. They not only tell us about the materials used but also about the technological skills of their builders. Ashoka's pillars. During Ashoka's reign, numerous pillars were built. They are monolithic, having decorative tops called capitals, bearing beautifully carved animal figures. The most famous is the lion capital at Sarnath, which is now our national emblem. The lion capital is printed on our currency and on government documents. The iron pillar at Mehroli, Delhi, is a remarkable example of the skill of Indian craftsperson. It was made about 1500 years ago. We know the date because there is an inscription on the pillar mentioning a ruler Chandra who probably belonged to Gupta dynasty. It is amazing that the pillar has not rusted in all these years. Stupa. It is a type of Buddhist monument, usually a dome-shaped structure with a central chamber. A basket containing relics of the Buddha or one of his disciples is kept inside the chamber. Early stupas were made of earthen molds. Later, mud or baked bricks were also placed on the top to protect the stupa from rain or any other calamity. A dome-like covered structure was constructed only during the time of Ashoka. He is said to have built more than 80,000 stupas throughout his empire and in Afghanistan. The Sanchi Stupa at Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh is one of the best-known stupas to be preserved to this day. In later years, 4 gateways called Torana were added to it. A circumambulation path or Pradakshina path was also provided around this stupa. The devotees go around the stupa on this pathway as a mark of respect to Buddha. A magnificent stupa at Amravati in Andhra Pradesh was constructed during the later years. It has carvings in stone dating to about 2000 years ago. For many years, an umbrella was mounted on top of the stupa as a sign of honor. Some of the stupas have elaborately decorated sculptures and painted walls. The stupas, apart from remembering Buddha in many forms, provide a fine specimen of art and architecture of this period. Monasteries. Many rock-cut viharas, monasteries and chaityas were built under Shatavahanas. The chaityas were rock-cut halls enclosing the stupas, while the viharas were the dwelling places near the chaityas donated to wandering Buddhist monks. The Buddhist caves in the Western Ghats are popular for the largest collection of chaityas. The final form of rock-cut architecture that developed from these early forms can be seen all over India in Andhra Pradesh, Kathiawar in Gujarat, and in Ajanta and Ellora. Ajanta and Ellora Caves. The complexes at Ajanta and Ellora are the best examples of cave architecture. There are 29 caves in Ajanta and 34 in Ellora. It is difficult to separate architecture from paintings and sculptures in the caves. In Ajanta, murals illustrate the stories of Buddha. Ellora has Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain cave temples and monasteries. Temples. In the Gupta period, image worship became very popular among the Hindus. Many temples were built for the worship of images. The temple usually had a small central room called Garbhagriha, where the image of the deity was placed. The other features were carved pillars supporting a low roof and sometimes a tiered spire, shikhara. The temples of the Gupta period became models for future North Indian temples. Narayanan Temple at Deogarh, Sanchi Temple, Bhitargaon temples and Cave Temple at Ajanta were built during this period. In South India, Pallava dynasty introduced the Dravida style of architecture in a number of pyramidical raths, temples at Mahabalipuram. The Kailashnath temple at Kanchipuram is a full temple complex with a tarred sanctuary and mandapa hall preceding the sanctuary. Carved to represent Mount Kailasha, the home of God Shiva in the Himalayas, it is the largest monolithic structure in the world. To begin with, it was carved out of the rock, but when it was finished, it was a freestanding temple. The short temples taper from a broad base to a point, thus making the tower called Vimana. Chalukyas built freestanding temples at Aihole, Badami and Pattadakkal. These temples are considered the beginning of rock-cut Hindu architecture. The Chalukyan architecture is a combination of South Indian or Dravid and North Indian or Nagara styles. The Chola dynasty of South India further developed temple building. It achieved its peak at Tanjavur, the capital of Cholas. Bronze sculptures of this era are the finest in South India. They depict Lord Shiva in many aspects. Sculptures. The artisans of ancient period excelled in making sculptures. The stoneworkers of Mauryan period mastered the art of polishing stone. A rare sculpture in the statue of Chauri Bearer, female attendant found at Didarganj near Patna. The Gandhara and Mathura school of art, which excelled in sculptures, flourished during Kushana period. The Gandhara school combined Greek art styles with Indian style. The Mathura school produced images purely in Indian style. Trivia: the Hoyleshwara temple at Halibid stands on a platform like a casket. The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva. It has